Hello and welcome to the Red Dragon Inn. This is our new show, Across the Table, Episode 1. We are your hosts. I'm Brad.
My name's Derek.
Cody.
I'm Derek.
All right, this is the first video that we're going to do in our new series where we review and discuss RPGs, board games, maybe the occasional video game, really whatever we feel like talking about that day. And today we're going to be discussing Pathfinder 2.0 and why we think, for our group, it is going to replace D&D 5th edition. So to start off, we're going to just kind of give a little bit of history of ourselves. You may have seen our live plays on our channel, but we still don't really talk about ourselves too much. So myself, I've been playing D&D since about 92. I started in 2nd edition. I've played through every edition of D&D. I've played original Pathfinder. However, I did not play the Pathfinder playtest, where some of these other guys did. So why don't you guys give a little background in your gaming history?
I've been playing D&D for 10 years now. Does that sound right?
Okay. What edition did you start in?
I started in Pathfinder 3.5?
And 3.5.
3.5. Okay. Then we moved to D&D 4th edition, right?
But that was, briefly.
Very briefly.
Yeah, 4th edition is what I'm least experienced in as well, because...
So actually, we started in Pathfinder, so that's what we were initially used to.
Okay.
I always liked the system of it because it's you can really build your character exactly how you want it because of all the
probably means already that you have more Pathfinder experience than I do. I have played it a few times, but...
Yeah, I like it a lot. We've been playing it for about 10 years. We have an ongoing campaign that long, so that's pretty impressive, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been fun.
I don't think I've ever made it more than a year, and that was impressive.
We've tried multiple games, and it was all fun.
Okay. Cody?
My experience is pretty much the exact same as his. But,
So you also started in Pathfinder and 3.5?
I really liked Pathfinder. I feel like he really likes it because he's a min-max player.
I was going to talk about that.
The opposite. So, but I'm still really excited for Pathfinder. I like the idea of it and being able to have super niche characters that aren't just like...
Yeah, and some of that stuff is what we're going to get into on this video and why it's different from 5e.
Right.
Yeah.
Similar to Brad, I started playing in the early 90s, 2nd edition D&D, AD&D specifically.
Oh, right.
But then, we've gone through the 3.5, 3.0, 4... lots of other systems in between, White Wolf and all that other stuff. But,
I couldn't even begin to count how many games I've played.
But it was early 90s, like 91, that I started playing. So back when THACO was a thing.
We've got experience, that's what we're saying.
I mean... couple of us. So what we're going to talk about today is, like I said, this is not a thorough how to play. There's plenty of those out there. This is just a general for us, for our table, what we like on it based on first impressions. I myself have read through Pathfinder 2.5 times now. It doesn't mean I know or remember even half of it at this point. But now, for the rest of us, Der has just barely looked at it, right?
Yeah, briefly. I skimmed it.
And Cody, you know nothing.
You've looked at pictures.
I've seen the pictures,
right?
And they're very cool.
Right, and
I've quickly read it.
Okay, so we have a little bit of each spectrum here of knowledge, but that does not mean I am the rules authority at the table. I'm trying to get it, but that's a few of the things we're going to talk about. So, Derek, you actually played the Pathfinder playtest. I skimmed through it. I did not actually get a chance to play the playtest. So why don't you talk about first what you liked from the playtest that is carried over into this?
Some of the main thing would be the 3 actions per turn and the way they break them down. One thing that I really like about it is it actually gives a purpose to wizard components, so the material, somatic, and verbal. Different spells will sometimes use all 3, maybe only 1. Like, for example, you could cast True Strike, which is only a verbal, and then follow that up with Ray of Enfeeblement, which is 2. So it's increasing your chance, so you can cast those 2 spells with all 3 actions, but you're not moving.
Right. So there's an action economy in this game. Where you have 3 actions to spend on your turn normally. You have single actions, and then you have activities. Short activities take 2 or maybe even all 3 of your actions. You also have a reaction on your turn. So different from other games. Usually it was 2 a turn, like a move and attack, or an attack and a move. This is, you have 3 actions. They could take 1, 2, or 3 to perform, and then also everybody gets a reaction. The book is so clean in the way they have defined every single thing you can do. I mean, it is better than any other game I've played, quantified in this book, how you can do that and exactly what that does, how many actions it takes. It's a very clean system. I love the layout, and I love how the book is worded.
Right, the skills too, like they've taken a lot of things a lot of people would house rule, and they've actually included it into the actual game. Like they've actually taken the feedback from a decade and have actually incorporated it.
Right, I said that off camera earlier. It's like, I feel like this is the best example of looking into feedback and looking into complaints and house rules, and they've taken all that into consideration and actually put together a well thought out book that is really to the point. Whereas some of our problems with 5th edition, which we'll get into in another video, this is not to knock 5th edition. It's actually a great game, especially for a new player. Whereas I think Pathfinder is probably going to be considered the general logical next step.
That's what I like about the character creation in Pathfinder a lot, because it gives a little more oomph to you making a very specialized character. In like 5th edition, you can basically make anything you want, but it's just a reskinning of most of the classes, at least at first. After they threw in the extended stuff, it's a lot better, but I think Pathfinder is going to be real good for real niche characters.
Yeah, the amount of feats that you can get can really make your character unique, whereas like I said, if you're a 6th level barbarian in 5th edition, well, we don't want to get into a bashing 5th edition in this. Well, it's not even a bash, but again, but like you said,
well, I mean, that's one of the things. Like we were saying, for us, why we're going to switch, and one of the things that I have written down to talk about is your character options. And you may not know this yet, having not really read into it.
I do not. I can confirm.
the basic character creation in Pathfinder, you do not roll your stats. You also do not point by your stats. Your stats naturally are filled out as you make your character. So first you're going to pick an ancestry, and the ancestry is going to give you a couple ability scores or flaws, ability boost or flaws. The boosts are a +2, and the ability flaws are a -2. So everything starts at 10. So as you pick your ancestry, you pick your background, you pick your class, all of those are going to give you, like, maybe you have a +2 to in, a +2 to dex, and then a free +2. And then, once you go to your class, you'll have a +2 to dex, +2 to whatever on a free one. And then at the end of it, you have another 4, just free ones to add anywhere. And especially like how that works, there are options in here to traditional ways you can still roll, but I would challenge anybody that is diehard on rolling their stats to try this first. I don't know where I was going with that. So, all right, talk about something else, Derek. I'm talking too much.
I really love skills. Again, the way they've classified everything, they've really condensed it down from 3.5 to make it probably streamable, because that seems to be a direction that a lot of companies are going, is to mainstream it as much as they can, but still keep the flavor of the game. One thing I love is the fact that they break down everything as to untrained or trained. Anybody can do a skill untrained, like even knowledge skills, which is kind of house ruled when 5th edition.
Right.
We always did it at a negative if you weren't skilled, disadvantage. But you can make a knowledge arcana check unskilled to learn about, say, what you know about a dragon. Everybody's heard something about a dragon, so how much you know depends on your roll. However, you cannot use your arcana to identify a magic item, because that is a skill. That is, you have to be trained in order to do it.
Right.
And almost every skill has an untrained, and not all, but most of them have what you can do untrained or trained.
So there's actually 5 levels. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about too, is the proficiency system. So untrained is 0, trained is +2, And then, help me out, expert is +4.
Then master.
Master is +6. Legendary is +8. If you're untrained, it's just a straight +0. All the other ones, it's also your level plus your trained level. So say you're a rogue starts out an expert in perception, for example. Everyone has perception. Perception is not a skill in this. Almost every character starts, it is a skill, but it's not in the skill list. It's its own thing. Everyone starts out at least trained in perception. So like say a rogue, for example, it'd be your level +6 is what you add to the d20 for your perception rolls. Whereas like you're a monk, maybe monk's only trained in perception, so monk is +2 plus its level, and every skill works like that.
Right.
If you're a 0, then you don't get to add your level if you're untrained. And then one of the things you do when you level up, of course, is you'll get skill increases where you can go from untrained to trained or trained to expert or, etc. up to legendary,
right,
which is the maximum. And that's similar to the 5e proficiency system, but just that little bit of a change seems like it gives a lot more flexibility.
Or even they define things a little bit better to where the DM doesn't have to guess, and maybe you ruled it one way one game, but then another game you try to rule it different because the situation, like I said, it's just all defined here, which I really like.
One of the things we were going to talk about is how multi-classing works. You want to start that off, Derek?
I'm excited about.
I don't know.
I know you'd be excited about multi-class.
I mean, you love multi-classing, but in
it's
this
definitely
edition,
toned down quite a bit.
You're no longer just taking a different class. They have archetypes, and it's basically you're taking your class feat for this other class. So, and when you take that feat, you get aspects of the class you're multi-classing into, but you don't get the full ability.
So you will not be a warrior, you don't be a 10th level wizard and a 5th level fighter.
From a DM's perspective, one thing that I really enjoy is magic items now have a gold cost listed with them now.
Oh, yes. Boy, I didn't like that in 5e at all. Now, like, why would you take away all the costs? I mean, I get if you're running a low magic game or whatever, but...
It was supposed to be all about the adventuring and no longer about the minutia of...
Right, but everybody wants a bag of holding right away, and they want to buy one if they can't. And, there's just, things like that. I just wanted there to be a cost. And I'm glad that they did that. I'm glad they put a cost on every item. Now, the costs are pretty hefty, but at least there's a cost.
But at least there is a cost.
One thing about this game is you only start with 15 gold. So your character creation, you get 15.
However, there is, as you... downtime activities, they actually have rules for if you are a bard. There's literally rules of this. You perform this well, you get this much.
Another thing I love about this, they have made downtime interesting. Like, I actually want to build a character that does cool stuff in my downtime. Crafting is really interesting and really neat.
Important, actually.
We'll talk about crafting in a minute, but as far as like performance, like we were talking about, there is a legitimate chart that you can actually make some real money as a bard doing downtime performances. I think it caps out a critical success at a level 20 difficulty performance is 700 gold. Now, granted, that's the highest you can go, but you imagine a chart that goes from 0 to 700 as you're leveling up. I mean, it used to be, I do a performance, the DM throws some change your way. Now this is like a legitimate, you might be able to make more money than you made on your last adventure just during some downtime.
Charisma, not a dumpster.
Right, exactly.
So what you're saying is you wanted to create a character that thrives in downtime? Because I'm your guy.
I mean, just as you look at the different options of things you can do in downtime, you will...
Bram will finally be able to make his farm of animal breeding.
Oh my God. Nope, we're going to house rule against that.
So crafting, what we're going to talk about next is crafting. There's formulas for magic items, and say you wanted to make your sword +1. In this one, you don't buy a +1 sword. You already have a sword. You just etch a rune into it that makes it +1.
Well, you can buy it.
You can. But you could personally, just as a crafter, spend your downtime etching a rune in it that makes it +1.
Wizards are no longer the only ones that are making magic.
And then you could once you got the formula for +2, you could alter your rune and change it to +2. And you can do this yourself. A fighter can do this. A fighter can make a bag of holding if he has the formula for it and a bag.
I don't like this. I'm going to lose a lot of the party's fun.
It's just one of those things, like, it goes in with the theme, because I never understood, like, the dwarven fighter smiths that would craft these war hammers or swords that were magically enchanted, but it's like, it never fit within the rules because you had to be a wizard in order to enchant.
Why is the wizard building a warhammer of slaying when he doesn't use a warhammer? Why does he even bother?
Right.
Why is he casting that spell? I mean, how much are they paying him? I mean, you're a high enough level wizard. Do you really need any money?
Yeah, you've probably already earned everything.
Right. So, I mean, it's neat that, and then, like, so you have the runes. That's one thing that you can do. But you also have talismans. And talismans are just, like what it sounds like, little items, and those can be implanted into like a shield or something.
So like Final Fantasy sockets.
Right, yeah. So
it's
you
an RPG aspect.
You can socket that into your shield, and then you could replace that later or change it. And
I love that idea. That's a great idea.
It's really neat. And crafting, downtime, super interesting. Lots of cool stuff you can do.
I do love how the 3 actions makes level 1 characters feel a lot better.
Oh, it makes haste amazing too, because I think it's your 4.
It does make haste a lot more potent. But you feel better as a level 1 character because you can attack twice if you want. Like, it might not go well for you, and like you said, True Strike is now a viable spell.
Right, because you can actually cast a day and still do something in that round.
Which is amazing.
Like I said, just the way they broke down just individual skills, like if you are a fighter, you can attack twice, but if you want the benefit of that shield, you have to use one of your actions to put the shield
what I
up.
was going to talk about next, is you have to take an action to raise a shield. So you could move up, attack, and then what do I want to do? Move away? Or no, I'm going to raise my shield for an action. Right. So next round I got the bonus for my shield.
Or you can play it the unsafe way. It's like, even though I have a shield, I really want to attack 3 times, which would represent you're just throwing your sword around and not getting
that ties right into what I was about to talk about before I got distracted. Is now the other modes of the game are exploration mode and downtime mode. So we talked about downtime mode. We've talked about encounter mode, which is encounter mode will be while you're in initiative order, usually during a combat or a social engagement. Encounter mode is when you're playing anywhere else. We're walking from point A to point B, tracking by the day before we get to an encounter. Now there's some pretty neat actions that they've built in to that as well. Even though you're not in initiative order, you can move at half your speed and you're assumed to always have your shield up. So if something happens, you could do that so that when a combat starts, you automatically benefit for your shield. You also can move at half your speed to just say you're always looking for secret doors. You're always looking for hidden things. You're always you're always detecting magic. That's a different action.
Even in encounter mode, I still love the fact that detecting magic is just one action.
Well, right.
It's always up.
Now, some vicious DMs might not like that, because there's always those DMs out there that are like, ha ha ha, I put this such a high DC, you'll never find this secret door. I'm like, well, then why'd you put it there if you didn't want them to find it?
Because it's a secret.
That's a different video.
But yeah, that will be a different video probably. But we're getting close to our time here now, so let's just do final thoughts. We've already talked about, we did a survey. Everyone in our group has decided this is what we want to play next. All right, we'll start with you, Cody. What are you most excited for now after we've talked about this here for the last few minutes?
Honestly, getting back to the fantasy setting, because I really like that a lot, and basically just repeating what I said before, making very individualized characters. It's always my favorite part. So
you definitely can do it. One thing we didn't talk about it in the video, 35 different backgrounds in here.
Ooh, heck.
Plus the character option book that's been released, I don't know the number, lots more. Compared to what 5e had 12, something like that. So yeah, backgrounds everywhere. You can make all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Dur, what do you got?
I'm really excited for character creation. Like I said before, it's one of my favorite parts of the game. I also am interested in the new multiclassing. I love building the character up to a point to do a certain specialist.
Are you one of those that like pre-builds up to like 20th level?
I'll pre-build halfway sometimes, and then when we get there, I'll build the rest.
I don't do that because I'm going to change my mind later.
No, I like to build out the characters, and this gives you a lot of options to build them, a lot of pieces to build them with, a lot of archetypes, and it looks like they even gave you a couple new races, which I'm excited to look into.
Especially in this Lost Omens, which is the name of the campaign setting character guide. That's what we were talking about earlier. You got lizard folk, hobgoblins, leshies. There's a bunch of weird stuff you can do in there.
It looks like they also had subtypes of every single race, which I think was really cool.
Oh, yeah, lots of
versus
options.
having 6 NPCs essentially. You have a large variety of characters to choose from now, as well as to use in your world.
Right. Derek?
As a player, of course, customization for characters. I'm also going to look forward to the fact, unsure yet, but if they continue suit, they're just going to release a lot of supplements quicker than what Wizards did. So you'll have more options more frequently, but we don't want to get into that.
Video.
That's another video.
But
as a DM, I suppose even as a player, but as a DM, I really appreciate the rules being very laid out.
And for me, I mean, all the same stuff they've said. I love the character options. I love all that stuff. I've been focusing on the DM side recently, just prepping and getting ready to actually run. And the only thing I have negative is that I'm ready for some more monsters. Bestiary's great, but there's a lot of stuff that I wish was in there already that's not quite in there yet. There's still plenty in there. That doesn't mean that the bestiary is bad. That just means I'm ready for more monsters, more magic items. I don't want $5 a month that I can't keep up with, but there's already a game mastery guide coming out in January that expands like advanced game master. There's an advanced GM screen coming out already, so we know that's coming. It's Pathfinder. There's going to be character options, campaign options, more bestiaries galore. Give it a year.
Is there something that should be like very identifiable with fantasy that is not in the bestiary? Is there any creature you can think of right off the top of your head?
No, because that will give away what I need for my adventure. But
We'll close our ears.
But no, I mean,
I won't watch this later.
no. I mean, I'm in the opinion where I usually don't like, Bestiary 5, where they just ran out of ideas and they're just throwing every crazy thing they can think of.
Two-headed eagle.
Right. But, a Bestiary 2 would probably be enough, just some more options. I want some more magic items. I want some more monsters, and I want some more information about the locations. The setting in this is the same as Pathfinder 1. They've just advanced the timeline forward and made a lot more events happen. Derek, you said you were going to come up with an outro. This is your time.
Oh, yeah. No, well, this ends our session of Across the Table. I'm Derek.
Cody?
Brad.
And we are answering the questions you didn't ask.
Till next time.